Very good morning, dear students. So, in our regular classes, we have already discussed about the material and specifically in engineering material. Taking the option of a particular material used in a particular field is very important. And the decision of an engineer to choose a particular material for the particular application is the vital point. And today we will discuss about spring material. The spring material or spring stores mechanical energy, and that's why the spring material remain under highly internal stress during the operation. The spring material is under highly internal stress. Suppose this one is one spring. Suppose we are giving load from the top, so that all the diameter side of the spring material, it will get a internal stress, and during the complete operation the spring material under highly internal stress. Suppose some cases we are giving tensile force. Suppose in both side of the spring it is under tensile force, so that also the material remains under highly internal stress. That means internal stress means suppose force is applying in a particular area of cross section, then it may be elongate, or if it is compressive force, maybe changes the thickness of the or the diameter of the spring. For that, the stress develop in the spring material is known as internal stress. And the choice of material for spring depend upon the operating condition. Different operating condition. For example, suppose the spring used in different machineries, spring used in electrical appliances, also spring used in automobile vehicles. Depends upon the operating conditions, which type of equipments, which type of environment the spring is used. And for example, most heavily loaded springs are made of steel pine wires, spring of which have to corrosion fabricated of stainless steel and phosphorus bronze, etc. Suppose the spring is required to take a heavy load, it must be steel wire. The spring, if needed, the corrosion resistance of the spring material, if needed high, then it is also stainless steel. The steel spring material used of stainless steel and phosphorus drones. And this is the figure. The this is the leaf spring, which is used in automobile vehicles to carry heavy load. Entire load of the vehicle, maybe goods, the load of goods and the vehicle itself will carried by the leaf spring. And this leaf spring is made of particular type of steel. As we discuss, the spring is used to carry heavy load and different operating condition. Different types of spring also used. We will show you later what are the different spring we are using. And different types of spring. The commonly employed spring materials are first one is copper based spring material, and the second one is iron based spring material, third one is nickel based spring material, and fourth one is special based spring material other than iron, copper and nickel. In the copper based spring material, the base material, the composition, if we discuss about the composition of material, the base part is copper and other additional material also there, but the major composition is copper. Similarly, in the iron based spring material, the major amount is iron. If we observe the composition of iron based spring material, the major part is iron. And nickel based, similarly, nickel based spring material, the major component is nickel. And special other than these other, sometimes other than these three, copper, iron and nickel, other material if we use for manufacturing spring, then it is special based spring material. The copper based spring material, some properties like copper based spring materials possesses high electrical conductivity. As we know, the copper is one of the most characteristics is high electrical conductivity and good resistance to corrosion. Copper is another properties, it is good resistance to corrosion. And third one is lack of magnetic properties. From the first, if we elaborately discussed, the high electrical conductivity, normally what happens? Almost all electrical appliances, particularly in the motor, coil used in motor winding, particularly used copper due to the properties of high electrical conductivity and good resistance to corrosion. If we will give one example, in the chemical industries or any chemical field, normally the copper material is used because it is good resistance to corrosion, and obvious it is lack of magnetic properties. And in the copper based spring material, the composition of phosphorus bronze, copper is 92% and tin is 8%, and it uses high quality spring for switches, relays, contact, etc. Electric switch. And in brass, copper is 67% and zinc is 23%. Also used in switches and contacts. The nickel based spring material, the nickel silver, the copper is 56%, nickel is 18%, and zinc is 25%. It uses high quality spring for switches, contacts, and other electrical equipments. And beryllium copper, copper 98%, beryllium 2%. It is used in relay, switch, and relatively good resistance to wear, good conductivity, good resistance to corrosion, etc. And the next one is iron based spring material. A good spring still possesses high modulus of elasticity, elastic limit, high fatigue strength, high creep strength. Normally, thus iron based spring material we use to carry heavy load, and for that it should have a high modulus of elasticity, high elastic limit, high fatigue strength, and high creep strength. And different type of spring: helical spring, leaf spring, plate spring, cone spring, torsion spring, and this one is one of helical spring. We'll discuss also. And the leaf spring, which is used in automobile vehicles, and cone spring also, it is like a cone shape, the diameter differ the both end of the spring, and one side it is smaller and gradually it will increase up to the next base part, and it is cone spring. Similarly, torsion spring, and this one is a helical spring. The helix angle is given one from one coil diameter to the another, and it is described here. This one is the angle. Suppose this one is the spring diameter, as shown in figure, and this angle given alpha, the pitch angle. Suppose one end of the spring is rigidly fixed, the one side or in the selling side of the, and another side the load is given. So the spring material is under high internal stress. And this is the example of leaf spring for the automobile sector. It is used. And this one is a cone spring. The diameter one end is differ than the other end, and particularly the diameter gradually increased from the one end to the other, and the shape of the spring is like a cone. So thank you.